everybody, and welcome to the second rendition, or should I say, our second owner interview of the year. It is year two in the GFL, and I, Jim, your host here, have decided that I'm going to attempt to interview as many owners that will actually do interviews with me as possible. So today we have our buddy Tyler, who is the owner of the Washington football team, as people call them nowadays. Or the Washington racists, or whatever you want to call them. So, say hello, Tyler.
How we doing, people?
Doing good, man. How about you?
We doing all right. We doing all right.
Good. It's good to hear. So, I have some questions about the Washington racists that I'd like to ask.
All right.
What has been the difference from year one to year two?
Definitely year two. We now have a
Speak up a
quarterback
bit for me.
under our system. No more RG3. No more Kirk Cousins. No more Colt McCoy. I have a quarterback that actually fits my system. I have more talent on defense now. I'm not giving up 300 yards rushing a game, 300 yards passing a game. But we've been having some rough times of it as of late. Just getting the short end of the stick on some close score games, and the record's not showing our actual talent at the moment.
Interesting. Interesting. It's tough. It's tough out there. Trust me. I feel like my team's more talented than 2-4 right now. We're trying to go for our third win of the year right now, but it'll be an interesting sled, in my opinion. So you're not happy with where you are now, which is understandable. But it seems like you've made some strides roster-wise, like you said, talking about the quarterback and talking about all those different things. So, got a question for you. It looks like, normally I would ask if you're going to be a buyer or a seller or something in between at the deadline, but it looks like you were a buyer. You care to explain why you bought with your record? Now, granted, I will be the first to disclose I bought at the deadline with a bad record too, but I couldn't not get Muhammad Wilkerson. So, care to explain?
That's kind of where I was in the situation. Alfred Morris wasn't really fitting my system. I needed more speed in the backfield. So we went out and we grabbed C.J. Spiller, and we just tried to knock out all of our needs, well, most of our needs, with one fell swoop, and ended up trading with the Saints, getting Colston and Akeem Hicks, who just did not fit his system. Just for Alfred Morris and a couple picks, I felt like the players that we got are better than the picks that, what the picks could turn out to be.
That's fair enough. I mean, some people would ask, with your record, acquiring veteran players, why you would do that in lieu of draft picks. Some people question, maybe I'll even be the pundit, C.J. Spiller's age, how long is C.J. Spiller going to be a good back? How long is Marcus Colston going to be able to continue being a good receiver? Now, Hicks, I really like that pickup for you because Hicks, fits that 34 defensive line, and he's pretty big, he'll work out pretty well for you, I would think. So, it's all good. It's just it's all about team building. Some people just don't like to build their teams as much through the draft, and you're looking for known commodities, even if they're not going to be long-term known commodities.
Right. The thing with Colston is he's only a one-year deal, so the $7 million cap hit that he's going to have, even with his age, I brought him in for a specific purpose, and just to be the red zone threat, to be that guy that can go get that ball over every cornerback in this league.
Well, he's a tall receiver for sure. There's no question there. He's not going to be the fastest receiver, but you don't necessarily need fast receivers. There's other ways to play. So let's move on to the next question. What is going to be your strategy moving into the offseason? I mean, obviously you don't have the best record right now. I think you have a pretty good chance at being in, that top 10 conversation. I don't think you'll be at the third pick or anything like that, like you were last year. So, what are you looking at in the off season? Are you looking at, as far as free agency and the draft? What do you want to try and, improve?
Just on defense, mainly we are lacking speed.
I can barely hear you. Just where you know. So
Okay, how's that? Is that any better?
much better.
I have to talk directly to the speaker. Um, on defense, mainly we're just lacking some speed at the linebacker position. We have DeMarcus Ware, don't still. Okay, hold on. Can you hear me? Good.
Sorry about that delay. I was otherwise engaged behind me. We got your answer there, which is pretty cool. So moving on, I'm going to be asking, what do you feel like your strengths and weaknesses of your current roster are?
Um, the strengths definitely, even though we are giving up a lot of passing yards a game, I believe maybe not this season, but next and the year after that, our corners are going to be some of the tops in the leagues. I drafted a couple of that I feel that are just going to be really good in this league. Quarterback, I have nothing but high hopes for. My receiving core is a work in progress. The defensive line definitely probably the biggest strength of my team, and the offensive line they're solid across the board. I've been doing a little bit of shuffling around, seeing who can perform the best out of them.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. It's good stuff, man. I'm real interested to see how you can continue to improve that 34 defense and try and make it one of the best in the league.
Yeah,
So I want you to talk about your division race and your division rivalries right now. That I have not seen the division race in a few days and where we're at there.
I believe Van
Tight division. Tight division. You're actually only 2 games behind the Eagles right now.
right. That was one of the decisions, or one of the things that led to me deciding, hey, I'm not going to go ahead and throw the season. This division's still well in the grass.
Still think you can win the division.
Right. Yes, because that it's so close. Every game I've had in the division so far has been a close game that could be decided, either way. And I just feel like it's going to come down to the game 7 or game 16.
Yep, it's going to come down to those later weeks. That's for sure. That's for sure, man. So let's go on, and I have one more question for you. What are your thoughts on this year's upcoming draft class thus far? Just early observations.
It's looking a lot more defensive oriented as opposed to last year when you just had stud receivers and 3 or 4 quarterbacks that could have gone in the first round. Um, which is good for me because that's where I'm looking in the draft. I'm looking to pick up maybe a really, really talented middle linebacker, maybe a big space eater up front, maybe some more help in the secondary. I don't know. I got my eyes on a couple guys. I'm really excited for this year's draft class. So,
So you're looking defense primarily through the draft, so we should expect to see you offensively probably go through free agency for anything that you would want to do.
depending on who ends up being available, yes, that would be.
Obviously, yeah, that's a huge caveat for sure. Who's going to be available, and you just never know at this point in the year who's going to be out there. Uh, I agree with you there. But if I'm sure if there's a big defensive player out there, that fits what you're trying to do, and could use that, and it could fill a hole, it would help. So, moving on. Those are all the questions I have to ask you. This is the time of the program where I give a voice to you, and I let you bring up topics that you want to talk about. If you've got anything you want to talk about before we get out of here.
Um, why did you decide to pick up Muhammad Wilkerson? Seeing, I mean, you're kind of in the same boat as me. You know, not as good record.
Because I honestly can't decide. Or I wanted to play a 34 defense, okay, when we started, okay, but Buffalo isn't built for a 34 defense. My pass rushers were literally sitting on a 3-man line, okay, so that wasn't really working, and I didn't have any like large size for 3 down linemen. So realistically, playing as Rex Ryan, and having Rex Ryan as my coach, I should say, I wanted to go with a 34 defense. However, if you've watched Buffalo at all, they were built for more of a wide 9 front 4 defense. So I started playing a hybrid defense last year, which kind of went awfully, if you ask me. So I committed this year to going to a 43 defense and playing a base 43 defense, and I rush my 4. And I haven't been as successful with that as I'd like, and all along I've wanted to move back to the 34 defense. Now, I could play some hybrid defense because I have 3 pretty good defensive tackles. So if I want to play, that 5-man defensive line rotation 6, if you really add Hakeem Spence, who's coming up pretty well too at the defensive tackle position, probably be a defensive end. Good hit power at 90. That's pretty elite for a defensive lineman. And so realistically, I'm looking to move back to a 34. I may play a bit of a hybrid because I can slide Wilkerson in and get my best players. And that's all going to depend on personnel. Truthfully, if I can move Mario Williams, it makes the move to the 34 much easier. If I can't move Mario Williams, I really have to consider staying with 4-down linemen because I'll be paying defensive linemen about $50 million. So I'll have to look at it from that perspective. But I'd rather be able to go to the 34 defense, maybe show Wilk in there with Darius and my dropping down my outside linebackers, which Jared Hughes will become one of, and the other outside linebacker, because I'll probably move Nigel inside to go with Preston Brown. So I'll have to get another linebacker. I desperately need another corner now that I traded Ronald Darby to the Jets in the Muhammad Wilkerson deal. So I'm running Nickel Roby out there, who's 5'9", 160 pounds. Maybe not 160 pounds, but so defensively, I'm kind of trying to get back to the Rex Ryan. I want corners who are big. They're prototype corners as far as their size. Guys who can play both man-to-man coverage and and a little bit of zone. I tend to lean more towards man. So that's where I'm going with the Wilkerson pickup. I can play either front, either way with Wilkerson. If I can move a guy like Kyle Williams or move him to defensive end, I could play the 3-4. So I have options, even getting Wilkerson, which is why I went through with the trade.
I understand that. How has the number 1 pick in the draft panned out so far?
I think he's the best rookie quarterback in the league, in my personal opinion. Denver's going to say something different. You're going to say something different. I forget who the other guy who got a rookie quarterback is going to say something different. But I really do think he's the best rookie quarterback in the league, and he's starting to become one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, his confidence modified overall, I believe, is 91 now or 92. And that's halfway through the first season. So I've spent the prep. I've spent all of the necessary time into it. Now, granted, I would like his completion percentage to be a little bit higher. He's at about 60% completion percentage. But I also tend to throw the ball down the field a little bit more. So I'm going to get big plays and I'm going to miss some passes. This year Griff's 114 of 193 for 60% passing. He's just under 2,000 yards. He has 17 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. So I think he's having a pretty damn good year. And this is before this week's game. I have not played this week's game yet.
Yeah, that touchdown to interception ratio is something that a lot of people in this league cannot say that they have. Seems like this league throws a lot of picks.
You know what I tend to do? I try not to throw in traffic deep as much. I want to either overthrow the receiver where no one's getting it, or it's just not getting caught. I'm not gonna. I tend to be a guy. I used to be a guy who would throw wild interceptions because I got hurt in the pocket. I stopped doing that. I'll take a sack at this point. I'll take a sack in months. Even though my defense is not that good, I'd rather play with the field position, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I understand that completely, and it helps with Griffin's cannon of an arm, I'd say.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good arm. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's not like the biggest armed quarterback that you've ever seen. He's 93 throw power. I mean, I think I've seen some Madden 16 quarterbacks who are A+ throw power. Now, granted, they're not the all-around player that Griffin is, but 93 throw power. I've got him up to 77 deep accuracy. He's 86 medium, 86 short, and his awareness is up to about 75 now from about 60 when he started. So that's a huge jump as well. So even though he's a pocket passer quarterback, he's not fast, but he has enough speed at 71 and acceleration at 86 to be mobile enough for me to move him out of the pocket if I wanted to.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with Alex Russell. Alex Russell has 76 speed, but 90 plus agility and excel. So I'm not just a statue in the pocket. The only problem I have with Russell is his deep ball is awful. And with Griffin, there's 77 throw deep. That's like third or fourth best in the league already.
Yep, and because he's a young player, it does not cost me a lot to upgrade deep accuracy, which is where I've been focusing. I think it costs me about 1,000 points right now to up his deep accuracy, which I mean, as you get higher and higher, it's going to cost a whole lot more. But if you think about it, I looked at the best quarterback. I think the best quarterback's 83 deep accuracy in the whole game.
I believe Aaron Rodgers right now has.
Yeah, that's Aaron Rodgers, and I think there's one more. I think I can't remember who it is, but there's another quarterback that's got like 82 deep accuracy. But that's about it. I think Russell Wilson is actually 82 deep accuracy, which don't really make too much sense to me. But we can talk about Madden ratings another time. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to bring up, sir? While I got you on.
Well, I'd like to know what your plans for the draft would be. I mean, you might have already covered that in another interview.
It's all right. No, it's okay. My plans for the draft. My plans for the draft are to figure out where I'm picking. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's either going to be weapon, offensively, offensive line, secondary. One of those places is where I'm going, and it's going to obviously, if there's an elite corner out in free agency, I'm going to back a truck up to his house and start dumping money out of it, and hopefully he comes to Buffalo. But if not, I'll be looking at the other players. My secondary is old as can be. Corey Graham, Alan Ball, Adam Jones, Greg Toller. Other than Roby and Stephon Gilmore, who's not a young player, but he's not an old player either. My secondary is old, very old, and it's time to get younger. It's time to get faster. And that's one of the biggest places I'd say we look. Even though I'm going to tell you, with my experience, defensive backs in the draft and even in our draft and other drafts have gone very quick. So even if they're not they're not a first round prospect, I've seen plenty of second and third round prospects go in the first round if they're more.
Yeah, that was
So I mean, if I can get one of those top corners in the draft, I'll be looking in that direction.
Yeah, man, I saw last year that they we had corners, third round, that third round grade, went fourth overall. Turned
Yep.
out the one of the best decisions you could make. But yeah, you just never know with that draft.
Well, honestly, what it does is it shows you the true draft value isn't really true draft value. So you can only take so much stock into that. So you still have to make the decision based on the attributes they give you and the physical. How strong is he? How fast is he? And make those decisions. I mean, and you never know about player development. You don't know anything about player development when you're going into that. So it's a crapshoot. You hope you get the good stuff, and then you hope you get a superstar development, and you can develop them. You hope you don't get a slow development or like our faithful Super Bowl champion, a first round pick that's not even on your roster anymore.
Yeah, there's always a risk there.
Yeah, so there's always those risks, and looking at it from my perspective, um, I think he probably made a real good decision taking the cornerback. Corners are a dime a dozen. The corners are going to get overpaid. I can't wait to see what the corner franchise tag number is in a couple of years.
It's almost going to be as high as the quarterback one, in my opinion.
I don't know about if it'll ever get that high, but it'll be higher than any other position besides quarterback, in my opinion. I think it'll be even higher than receiver.
Yeah, but with the receivers in this league and the way people sling the ball around, you're going to need just about every corner you can find.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at drafting, I mean, there's really like a 3-to-1 ratio of wide receivers that come in that can play to corners that can play. So
Mm-hmm.
for every 3 wide receivers that get drafted, you get maybe one corner that can keep up with them. I mean, speed wise, I mean, the corners aren't very fast unless you get one of the good ones.
Right, right.
So at least that's what I saw in our draft last year.
Yeah, that's. I think there was 6 or 7 corners with or 6 or 7 receivers with like 95 plus speed, and then we only had like 2 corners.
Yeah, it was one corner, so it was like 7-to-1, which is crazy. How do these DBs guard these receivers? Are we going to see a lot of wide receivers running by DBs? Because actually, we were talking the other day that we read. I was talking with the other commissioners the other day, and we read that that speed that Rex from EA's finally acknowledged that draft class speed is a problem. That it's not tuned right. So. I also think that contributed to a lot of the scoring going up. If you noticed, I think rookie players coming in made scoring go up a lot. If last year we had a pretty good scoring basis and all that type of stuff, there's also I was reading that there's a defensive line glitch when you slide protection, so that may have also been why we were seeing 3 or 4 sacks from no-name DNs when we were allowing D-line control last year. Just throwing that out there, everybody. Um, so there's one of our reasons to not allow D-line control for everybody that may be asking about that. So well, that's
But
about it.
yep.
Well, I really enjoyed having you on, man. I really enjoyed the back and forth. We have to do this again sometime. This is Jim, and I'm signing off with Tyler from the Washington Racist Names. And this is the end of the broadcast. I'll try and bring Brett today, if not tomorrow. And Dennis should be today as well. Have a good day, everybody.